Good morning, everyone. Afternoon, whatever it is. It's 12 noon here, 12:08. I'm running a few minutes late. Thank you all for being patient with me. I appreciate that. I'm not late too often. Good morning. Good morning. Let's see. We have Dolphin in here with us. Dolphin's going to be joining me on the panel this morning while we look at this new stuff that's come down in the Koberger case. Pammy, welcome in. Forrest, always good to have you in here. Julie Moran, welcome in. Good morning, everybody. I hope you all had a good weekend. Nina, welcome in as well. Um, I don't know how many of you guys got to go over and hang out with Miss Shorty at Camp Shorty on Saturday night. That was a good. I was busy yesterday for somebody who takes Saturday off. I co-hosted with Joe on his channel. We ran about 5 hours over there, and then I went to Salty's. I went to Shorty's last night. Had a blast over there as well. We talked all things Karen Reed, and then we left there and went over to Kicks to finish our Body in the Snow show, and we finished that last night. It was a great time. Good times had by all. All right, let me see here. Let me get Miss Dolphin on stage with us. Good morning, Miss Dolphin. How are you?
Morning. I'm okay. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I grabbed a shower earlier, then I went to jump in and talk to you for a few minutes. And about that time, my phone rang. It was my kiddo. So I had to get him off the phone. I was like, dude, I got to go. I got something to do. But here I am.
Oh, yeah, you didn't get to hear my exciting day yesterday.
No, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah. Since
Tell us.
everybody here knows about Pipsqueak,
Yes, that's our
the
mascot doggy, guys. That is
yeah.
Dolphin's beagle.
Yeah, yesterday, about noon, we had been taking a nap and, I got up. Hey, Joe, good morning. I got up to let her out, and normally I watch her while she's outside, but I had to go to the bathroom too. So I just like ran back in the house really quick. And when I came back, she was standing up, scratching at the sunroom door, right? And she never does that, right? And I was just like, oh, what's her problem? So I let her back in, didn't pay it in too much more attention. And then when we were in the house and she walked by me, I saw this long scratch on her back, right?
Oh, no.
And it had been bleeding or whatever. And I was like, what in the world, right? So I looked out the back door and I saw a deer, right? The usual suspects, right?
Yeah.
But there was a little fawn with her, a tiny little
Oh,
fawn,
no.
about the size of a puppy.
Aw.
And I was just like, oh no. Pipsqueak must have walked toward them or something, and the mother attacked Pipsqueak yesterday.
Oh, no.
And so I thought it was just the scratch. I saw a scratch and then I saw like the dust from the hoof print like a little bit above, like
Oh,
say in the
shoot.
middle of her back. And so
Yeah.
I thought, "Oh great, I got to take her to the vet real quick."
Yeah.
So, excuse me. She didn't want to go back outside, right?
Oh, bless her heart.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, she was traumatized, right? So I
Yeah.
had to go out to the car, get her leash, and then come back and put a leash on her. And so the mama deer and the fawn like looked at me, and then she kind of like slowly walked down the side hill and down the driveway, right? So this is before I realized that she had attacked Pipsqueak, right? And then I go and I get Pipsqueak in the car, right? Now this is when I realize that she's attacked her. I saw her go across the street and then she went two doors up, right? So I drove up and I saw her standing in another neighbor's driveway with her little fawn next to her. I rolled the window down and I was like, she didn't mean to hurt your baby. She wasn't going to hurt your baby, right?
Yeah.
Oh, she stared me down,
Uh-uh.
okay? So I took a photo. I'll have to show you guys the photo. It's kind of funny.
Now,
Um,
if you guys have been around a minute, you know Dolphin's been having these deer visit her for quite a
mhm.
while, and we've been watching a little videos and stuff. And that's crazy that she had a fawn come up with her and she attacked Pipsqueak like that.
Mhm.
Pipsqueak didn't mean no harm.
Mm-mm. I'm sure she didn't even run after her because she's used to seeing deer.
Yeah.
She probably took a few two steps close to her, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you know how those mama animals are over their babies. It like nothing can come near them. Um,
Yeah.
Good thing she wasn't hurt, you know what I mean? So did you get her to the vet? She's okay? Or I
I
mean,
got her to the vet, and they were like, "Oh, we're busy today. We're packed." And I was like, "Look,
right?
I gave them the look, and I told him, I'm like, "I'm not playing about this dog. You better, see her, right?" So, they took her and kept her, and they were like, "Oh, we'll have to probably do sutures and insert a drain, and do this, that, and the other, and immobilize her, and all this." And so that was to the tune of, with discounts, $700, right?
Mhm.
And then I said, "Well, what about x rays?" And they said, "Oh, no, it doesn't look like, we need x rays now." So then I left to go run some errands, and then they called me, and then the doctor's like, "Yeah, I think we were going to do some x-rays because, she's got marks underneath her too." And I was like, "Underneath her, right?" Because I hadn't even turned her over to look, right?
Yeah.
So when I went back to get her, they shaved her, so she's got this big rectangle of fur on the middle of her back, like on the top of her back, that's missing. And when I went to get her, we rolled her over. Pipsqueak has like a long line down the chest, like right in her chest, where, she must have gotten scratched by the hoof. And then, like, kind of over, low by her belly, like over to the side, like, I guess, inner thigh kind of area.
Mm.
There's like an abrasion there. So on her chest and then down by her thigh, I was just like, oh my God, this thing hit her 4 times, right?
Right. It must have ran up on Pipsqueak and just started
Yeah, she was
pop, pop, pop.
stomped.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I'm waiting for the x-ray results, but with the way she's moving around, I don't think she has a break or a fracture or
Yeah.
whatever, but she's on antibiotics and pain meds, and I've got to
Aw.
clean her wound every 12 hours and put this antibiotic ointment on it and give her pain meds
Well,
every 12 hours.
that
Oh
is not cool of
man.
those deer. We were, like, enjoying the deer right along with
Mhm.
you, and now they go and attack our dog. We can't have
Mhm.
that. Now she can't even go out to the bathroom and feel safe in her own yard.
Yep.
Goodness gra well, maybe you'll have
$800 is what it ended up costing
yeah,
me.
you may
Yep.
have to move that feeder further away from Pipsqueak's running around area. I don't know.
Even before I started feeding them, they always would walk that close to the patio and the
Yeah,
sunroom,
yeah.
because there's the steps to go up that, up
Mhm.
that little hill is right there. And then there's another part like back behind my car and everything. So they've always come really close to the house.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm just going to have to watch her now, because
Yeah, 'cause
ooh,
something happens to Pipsqueak, I know what's gonna that would not be a good day.
I know the deer just became the enemy.
Yeah,
If I had known that she hit her 4 times, yeah, I would have probably gotten out the car and gone after her. You
yeah,
know?
you probably would've, and that deer would've been
Mhm.
like, "Oh, shit,
Yeah.
playtime's over. We're not getting any more meals. We just messed up."
Yeah.
Oh, well, bless her heart. Well, we wish her a speedy recovery and good healing and all the things, and
Thank you. I haven't seen that one. The mama deer isn't around, but the usual one that I've been feeding, she's
mhm.
still coming around. She's a little smaller than this other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a photo too. I'll show y'all the culprit in a little bit.
Oh, man, that's crazy.
Mhm.
It that's just so unbelievable. Here we are, been going on and on all week about these darn deer, and
I
we're all
just bought them food.
I know.
One just watched me take the food out of the trunk of the car, open the bag, and pour food. That's
Well
how calm, that they are. And they're like waiting for their food. And
well,
now
what
the squirrels are coming.
right. What that deer doesn't realize, though, is you're just as protective over your baby as she is of her
Yeah.
baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm-mm. Well, hopefully Pipsqueak will be safe, and you'll have to just go outside with her until things calm down so that
Yeah.
you
I
guys
had
can
no
chill.
idea one was like, I guess it was pregnant. Because, I mean, this fawn was so tiny.
Like
And she was
newborn.
struggling to run behind the mama, too. So
Yeah,
I was like, she looks like she's a newborn.
yeah. That's what it sounds like. It's a
And
newborn.
I told you one has had two fawns in like right there at the side where the steps are, like a couple summers ago, 2, 3 summers ago,
Mm.
and she hung out for hours, like recovering. So yeah,
Oh, welcome in, Ms. McGuire. She said, talk about ungrateful. This is
yeah,
grateful deer. And she's been really good to these deer, like
super
feeding them.
good.
Yeah. It's like, don't mess with the dog, though. That's where we draw the line. But
Yeah, I just was like, wow, you've lost your mind, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, it's crazy. It is so crazy. Thank you for joining us, everybody. If you guys don't mind, hit the like button. Thanks for being here. So, I don't know if you guys have heard the rumblings over the past few days about new stuff happening in the Brian Koberger case and the Idaho 4 case. Um, while we were live the other day streaming the trial, Dolphin and I, we were receiving information, and I'm sharing it with her. Like, can we vet this? What's going on here? What do we got? So now a couple days have passed, and I got all the documents together and everything, and we're going to take a look at some of this stuff. I know there was a lot of question at first is who issued the subpoenas in Pennsylvania, right? There were like I think five in Pennsylvania that came down. It was the defense team. In fact, the defense team has issued 17 in Washington, one in Nevada, and the other five are all in Pennsylvania. And they're all issued by the defense team. So we're going to take a look at it and see what they, of course, we don't know what they're going to mean, or we can take a look at some of the people and what they may be coming to testify to. But we'll look at the documents that we have pulled up as well. Let me pull up my other screen here so I can get this stuff up for you guys.
Oh, so they've been busy, huh?
Very busy. We'll take a look at what came out of Pennsylvania first. Well, first, let's get this one out of the way. Okay, so I don't know if a lot of you guys know that, oh gosh, a long, long time ago, they subpoenaed Bethany Funk or tried to serve her with an out of state warrant. There was a big back and forth about that. They ended up speaking with her attorney, and it appears the defense team did talk to her at least enough to satisfy them at that point. Nothing else came of it. They've
Mm-hmm.
issued another one. Um, I think that she's on the state's witness list as well. We don't know to what extent that'll be yet, but they have also filed one now. I got the actual document, but this is just going to show you where it came from. A friend of mine on Twitter got me the document. Okay, so this is a detailed case information. This is out of Nevada, though. This is a case description that gives a case number, state of Idaho versus Brian Koberger. This was filed May 1st of 2025. They're calling it other civil matter, pending active. And what this is, it'll tell you right here. There's the judge, Scott Freeman. The interested party was Bethany Funk. The plaintiff was the state of Idaho. Now, this one appears to be, let's see, the plaintiff is Idaho. Her attorney is Evelyn Grosnick, and the defendant was Brian Koberger. Now, if we go and look at the actual document, let me get that pulled up because it's on a separate, page. It expanded too big. Okay. Now, my buddy MB Inc., he's always great about sharing stuff with me. All right. And this one, I got this off his Twitter page. I just told him I didn't need it in the DM because I had the link right here to it. Okay.
Okay.
So this is, let me click this one. There we go. Let me make this. Okay. So this says in the Second Judicial Court of the State of Nevada, in for the County of Washoe, how do you pronounce that? The State of Idaho is the plaintiff versus Brian Koberger. Order directing the attendance of Bethany Funk in an Idaho District Court based on the request for an order to direct the attendance of Bethany Funk in Idaho court and the court being otherwise fully advised. It is hereby ordered that a subpoena is to be issued directing Bethany Funk to appear before the District Court of the Fourth Judicial District of the state of Idaho. And it gives the address and the date, August 11th, 2025, 8 a.m. through the end of trial. To testify at the trial scheduled in the state of Idaho versus Brian Koberger, out-of-state witness, fees and mileage are to be paid to the witness. And it was dated May 8th of 2025. So that was very recent that was signed off on.
Mm-hmm.
That's really all we have on that. There's no other information out there about that one yet, except for just it is what it is. Um, the other ones were okay. These are the ones that were. There's one weird one, and I'll show you what I mean. The first will be the first one that I bring up. This one was for, and these names, guys, they're in the documents. Oh, wait a second. Where's my? Where'd he go? Hold on one second. I gotta click it the right way. Let me get back to it. It is humid in Florida today. I'm like, I'm hot.
Oh yeah, it's
It is. It's bad.
overcast here today. It's nice, but yesterday it was hot.
Where did
And
his
then
go?
we had 70-mile-an-hour winds and thunderstorms.
We had heavy winds last night, but it never did rain.
Hmm.
Okay. Criminal. Let's see. Hang on, guys. I'm sorry. I got to pull this up the right way because it's not wanting to work right now. Let me get this back here. Get this. All of these, except for his. Okay. I'm going to have to go to the Discord and grab it for some reason. Because the one that reads for Andriola is his last name. He they also have, let me go grab it. They also have the damn um, professor's name on there as well, and it reads really, it's crazy. So let me grab that one so I can show it first because it's
Okay.
yeah, it's different than the rest. I don't know if they messed up on that one or what their deal was, and I'll show you what I mean. Let me get it again. Oh, I'm in the wrong channel. Duh.
Mid
I want to show
90s.
you that one first. Yeah, it's crazy warm here. My son flew back into town last night, and he steps off the plane, and he said
Mm-hmm.
the humidity hit him, and he just hated it.
Yeah.
Oh my
You
God,
want to faint?
he's ready to go back to where he just came from, and I was like, dude, he liked it a little too much. Okay, which one was he? Here we go. Let me grab the PDF. All right, let me save it because I need to. Okay, I see why it's coming up under Michelle Bolger. But it has his name. Okay, that makes sense. That's why I didn't see it a minute ago, and I forgot it looked like that. All right, now, and it's weird because it is, like I said, it's the only one like that, and the rest are all different. So I'll show you. Let me pull it back up. Yeah, here it is. Sorry. Okay, now we're cooking. Okay, so share screen, get it back up there. Okay, so this Brandon Andriola, from what I could find out, he went to school with Brian Koberg because he graduated in 2013 and he's in the yearbook.
Mm-hmm.
So I hadn't really heard the name before, though. You think you have?
I do. I think that he's the guy with the jet black hair that was interviewed. He knew him because they both used heroin together. I think that's that guy.
We'll have to research that and find out because I couldn't find a whole lot on him on my preliminary searches last night. Okay, so this is like we looked in the beginning at these documents. There were some lines that were blank, and then but as we scroll down, we're going to be able to see some more of these newer documents. All right, but this one says, and now this blank day of blank 2025, upon consideration of the petition for summons directing witness Michelle Bulger to attend and testify out of state. Okay, so this is the only document, or look at it here, order scheduling a hearing on petition for summons for Brandon Andriola. And then it mentions her here. She's the only one that doesn't have a direct document like this out of the five that were subpoenaed.
Yeah.
This is the only time her name comes up. So
Sounds
it's
like a copy and paste gone
it
wrong.
does. It does, and it's very odd, but you can't the ones I'm going to show you for everybody else, there's not one like that for Michelle Bulger. So up
Hmm.
in the air if she's actually being subpoenaed or not. I would say she is, but for her actual document, we don't have for some reason.
Yeah, and
Okay,
his
so
name is all throughout the rest of it.
mm-hmm. And this one is just calling for him as a material witness necessary in a criminal proceeding pending before the district court for the 4th Judicial District of State of Idaho, and it's compelling the attendance. Now, all of the orders are going to say the same thing, so we're only going to read one. Compelling the attendance and testimony of Brandon Andriola will not cause undue hardship. The laws of the state of Idaho were aware the prosecution is pending and of any other state through which Brandon Andriola may be required to pass by ordinary course of travel, provide protection to him from arrest and from the service of civil or criminal process while traveling to, attending, and returning from the proceeding. For these reasons, it is hereby ordered as follows: all summons shall issue with a copy of the certificate issued by the Honorable Stephen Hippler, District Court for the 4th Judicial District of the State of Idaho. Attached, directing Brandon Andriola to attend and testify in the criminal proceeding pending in the state of Idaho. If you go down even further, petitioner, the undersigned has been retained as local counsel by the firm of Ann Taylor Law in the capacity as counsel for Brian C. Koberger in a criminal proceeding pending in District Court for the 4th Judicial District of State of Idaho, County of Ada, caption State of Idaho versus Brian Koberger, and bearing docket number, and it gives the number. Trial is scheduled to take place August 11th, 2025 until November 7th of 2025. Judge Hippler, the District Court for the 4th Judicial District of State of Idaho, has issued a subpoena commanding the appearance of testimony at trial of Brandon Andriola, who lives, works, and does business in Monroe County, Pennsylvania. Um, and they have an exhibit attached to that. All of these are exactly the same except for the names will change. But this tells you that this was absolutely issued by the defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know there was still some people speculating as to that. I don't know. I just got more documents and read them before I decided, because I wasn't sure at first when we first got the documents. It was like,
Yeah.
who's done this? Then as I got more came into me, I was able to keep scrolling down through the ones that were added, like aha, and now we have now we know who issued the warrants. So that one, but that, like I said, guys, that's the only one with where it starts out order scheduling a hearing and it gives the person's name and then it changes to another person, and it's weird. Um, but that is the first one. And Michelle Bolger, if you don't know, she was a associate professor or professor at DeSales University, and she would have been one of his teachers. Okay. This one is, well, this is who the person is. There was one issued for a Margaret or Maggie Sanders as well.
Mm-hmm.
Maggie worked at Pleasant Grove High School. She now works in the counselor's office, but back in 2020 and prior to that, she worked in the her job title was health and welfare, and
Mm-hmm.
her title formatted health welfare, Pleasant Valley School District, Pennsylvania. We all know that's where Brian Koberger attended high school. So, and she is the only Maggie Sanders that I could even associate having anything to do with Brian Koberger, right? So I have no receipts to show that's who that is that was served, but I would willing to bet that it would be somebody from the high school that knew about his past, or knew of him. So that's who she potentially is, and worked in the health and welfare office. And maybe she knows him because of some of the trouble he got into. Maybe he came through her office for that reason. I don't know what kind of information she would hold, but obviously it's something. But it's the defense that's done all this, so it makes you wonder.
I wonder, could she be the woman who he helped save her life when he worked at the school?
Didn't the woman work at the school too? That
Yeah, whatever the incident was, it happened on the school grounds, and
Mhm.
he and another officer helped. He apparently went and got the defibrillator.
Yes, yes, she had like
Mm-hmm.
an episode at school, and
Mm-hmm.
Brian Koberger jumped in and helped save a life.
If these are,
Well, if you're
mitigating
right,
witnesses, yeah.
mitigating witnesses, exactly. Mitigation. So then we have Miss Ann Parham, I'm sorry, and she also worked at Pleasant Valley High School and was a teacher. And I'll show you how these documents are just a bunch of copy paste situations. Because see, there's the same document for her, but here it says order scheduling a hearing, and it has her name, and then you go down and it has her name again versus the discrepancy in that last document we looked at between Andriola and Bolger. So again, it's the same exact document. So they have subpoenaed her as well, and she's from the school. And if you go all the way to the bottom, you'll also see that this one was also filed by the defense. Um, they have an ex parte sealed certificate of an Idaho district judge attached to this one. Um, Pursuant to Idaho code and after considering the motion of the defendant, the affidavit of Alyssa Massoff. Now, isn't it Melissa or Alyssa? I'm sorry, she's doing mitigation, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
the District Court of the 4th Judicial District of the State of Idaho in and for the County of Ada, being otherwise fully advised, hereby certifies the 4th District Court in Ada County is constitutionally and statutory a court of record. A criminal proceeding pending before this court, and there's the case number. The defendant in this case is charged with 4 counts of murder in the first degree and 1 count of burglary under Idaho law and is punishable by death. I am the judge assigned to preside over the trial scheduled to begin August 11th, 2025 at 8:30 through November 7th, 2025. And Parham, a person in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, is a material witness in this case. For this reason, this stated in the affidavit of Alyssa Massoff, the presence of Ann Parham is required in Ada County. Um, Ann's presence is required for 2 days. So they plan to at least have her on the stand for 2 days. And then under the laws of the state of Idaho, if Ann Parham comes into the state and is in obedience of a summons requiring his presence at this trial, he will not be subject or arrest or to arrest of service. Okay, we same language. And this one again was signed by Judge Hippler, and this one was signed March 13th. So it's been a minute on that. There were things behind the scenes. There's seems like there's stuff going on behind the scenes we don't know about every time we turn around.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
you know, so oh, I'm just marking off a name, guys. Okay, and then we have we talked about this one the other day. This one is for Jesse Harris, and Jesse was the owner or manager, I'm not sure which one it was, of the boxing gym. And that article told us the name of that boxing gym and the pizza place it was near. I got to go back and look at that. Okay, so this is or they're going to have hearings again. The hearings I think are scheduled for where'd my piece of paper go? The 25th. Oh, the hearings and for the Washington subpoenas will be the 25th, I believe, and I think for the Pennsylvania here subpoenas they have a hearing on the 30th. And I don't know anything about Bethany's. There was nothing on that. And those hearings will be determined if they're going to force these people to come in and testify or not. They're probably going to be told to go, right? So this is another. It's the same document that all the rest have been issued. Um, Copy and paste situation for everything, and that in his file that was the only one. You had to go through the individual ones, but his was also sought after by the defense as well. And all of these are in the Pennsylvania docket. They're not in the Idaho docket. And there was one more. He was a Ralph Vecchio, and from what we can understand, he was the
Are you scrolling
salesman.
through a document now?
No, we don't have.
Oh, okay.
I didn't pull his up yet. We have, and he is the one that apparently, according to JLR, he sold the Elantra to Coburger.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked up the where that dealership was at too. I was like, I want to know where this is at in relation to Koberger's house. I don't know why I wanted to know. I just did. So again, this is another situation where they just copied and pasted everything, and this one is to bring on Ralph Vecchio um,
Mm-hmm.
to testify. And these are the five. If you count Bulger, there's six people, right? So I'm not positive they got her on there or not. I would think they would, especially if they're out to prove that DeSales, the Reddit surveys were tied to what he was doing in school. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if they can prove that, they're going to absolutely do that and say, don't be saying our client was doing that weird ass survey to figure out how to do this. No, 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 no. That was school related, right? I would absolutely do that if I was a defense attorney and could prove it. Otherwise, you're going to let that go and ignore it. What are you going to do? You're going to ignore that. Yeah, let's just forget that because it's not even really it's not evidence he did anything, right? But if you can dispute it, knowing they might try to bring up that as a character thing or any kind of sideways shit, if the judge allowed that kind of thing in. So we have the five people out of Pennsylvania, like I was saying. We have a car salesman, we have the health and welfare counselor at the Pleasant Grove High School, we have the boxing gym manager owner, we have a professor, we have a high school friend, and a high school teacher. So people from his past that would know him and of him and the way he was, right? And the way he was. Welcome in, young black economist. How are you today? You said if motions were rejected and can't defile, if there are typos, it would clear up the issue nationwide in a day. Yeah. You know how many typos we see in all these. It drives Joe insane, especially when it's Lori doing it. Dolphin gets hurt. Yeah, we get hung up on that a lot. I try to ignore it because it happens so darn much, but it's so annoying.
Wait on what?
The typos in these darn court documents and the way they
Oh,
phrase things, and
yeah.
it's annoying. And we're like, wait a minute, it doesn't makes us sound silly reading these things because we're reading them word for word, and they have it all messed up. Makes us sound silly.
Yeah, I'm looking for an article. I know that there was an article about him saving this person's life to see if they
Oh yeah, there
named the
was.
name.
Do
There's
that.
something on Banfield, and so I was just trying to see if maybe they named the name of the person.
Yeah, because I that would be interesting. There was articles out there about that. You're right. The ones I have saved don't have that information. There are other things. They are other things. Okay, so we took a look at Bethany's subpoena that they served because she's been living in Nevada, guys, since right after the crimes were happened. She took off, and she's been in Nevada ever since, to our knowledge. As far as we know, Dylan is living. I think she's in Boise. Her family was in Boise, so um, I think she's right there already. No need to serve her with an out of state subpoena. That's why Bethany got one because she is out of state. Now I don't know what the defense is doing with Bethany. They've been trying with Bethany for a while. I don't know what they're going to do except call her out on her odd behavior the night of the crimes, what you were doing during the crimes. But you would think they would, if she's going to testify for the state, they'll just get her on cross. I don't know. They still think she's got some big dark secret to hide. Maybe. I don't know about that one. Um, well, you flip flops, but I always came in and just to hit the like button for Salty and just left. What did you? Well, I appreciate it because I'm not getting enough likes. I'm getting views, but I'm like, what? They don't know how to hit the like button at the same time. Okay. Laziness and in effect legal community. I don't know what it is, young black economists. I don't know if they're just interns, young people in the office. I can't make sense of their damn typing situation. They're having a hard enough time moving through these cases with all the voluminous volumes of, data and stuff. Typos is the least of their problems, they think. Um, it's crazy. All right, so let me pull up the Washington stuff. Because the thing about the Washington subpoenas, we don't, you know what they did? They put initials with the,
That's
yeah.
interesting.
You can't pull up the direct document. Somebody, I've got some really good document friends on the Twitter. They're not everybody on the Twitter is batshit crazy and conspiracy theorists. There's some really smart people on the Twitter, and I got two that, yeah, but there's like 17 or 16 out of Whitman and one out of Adams County, and Adams County is right next to Pullman. Because I looked it up on the map. Um, but the thing about them is you don't see the direct document, but you can see what it is, and it shows their initials. And so let me pull that up, that link. Okay. I have to go to Odyssey Court. Odyssey. And I just got to type in Koberger's name, and these will all pull up. I have to click I'm not a robot. Well, actually, I do it, then I hit clear accidentally instead of hitting submit because the buttons are in the wrong spot. Okay, enough complaining. I did that 5 times this morning, it felt like. Whoa. Okay. That was a weird glitch. Let me get Dolphin and I out of the way for a second so you guys can have a. There we go. All right. So this comes out of Whitman or Washington, like I said, and all we can see is if I click it, this is in the matter of the application of the state of Idaho for an order directing the attendance of AA. And it gives the case number. The court is Whitman, and it was filed May 28th. And then it gives you the miscellaneous civil, all the status. But you can't click the actual documents, and they all have the same attorney. We noticed those of us who looked at this page and looked at this information. They have the same attorney. So I don't know if that's just like because they're all subpoenaed for one case. I don't know how to explain that. I haven't looked into it. Um, Nobody else seems to know what that's about either. But this is a person named A. Now, are we going to throw on our thinking caps? Okay, so then you have to go back and do the whole thing again. Click submit. And what I'll do is I'll just scroll through. I'll show you. I have to click on each one to pull the initials up. But you can see Whitman County. If you go all through all of them, I'll just show you quickly that they're all saying Whitman County. But when you get to the very bottom and you go to the next page, the very last case is out of Adams County. And this person, it doesn't even say like initials even. It just says case information, state of Idaho versus Brian Koberger, case number, Adams County, and the date filed, which was the 23rd for this one, out of state witness because it's Washington versus Idaho. Flip flops, I think we're almost done with Karen Reed. Should be this week. If Karen's correct, it'll be Tuesday. Possibly I'll give them Wednesday. Okay. So then, and that's, I don't know why they don't allow us to see well, it wouldn't show much anyway, other than a name. And we don't really need a name, but it's always interesting. It's always so curious, right? So here, if you go to that second one in Whitman, I'll just give you guys the gist of it. This one just says FA, right? Dolphin, what was the initials of the Asian girl in Washington?
Well, her name didn't start with an F.
Mm-mm.
Thought it was like maybe an H or a K
Was
or something. I'm
there's
trying to remember what her name
Right,
was.
because there's 16 of these to look at. with 16 sets of initials. So that was one thing that hit me this morning when I was having my coffee at 6:30 in the morning. I was like, wait a minute, what was that Asian girl's initials? I wonder if she's part of those 16, and I haven't looked yet. I'll have to go and get her name. So it's a matter of like, well, I don't even know who this guy knew in Washington to know whose initials to, you know what I mean? I don't know. Teachers, maybe people that,
Yeah, there could be people
um,
from WSU, like
it
Rachel
could
just
be,
said.
yeah, it could be professors, it could be students that he was, because he was a
Like the
TA.
Professor Snyder that he kept getting into it with, and then Snyder's boss, Melanie. Ooh, what was her name? I think she has like two names. Yeah, Melanie something or other.
Yeah, I don't know, because I would think that if they're coming out of Whitman County, they didn't know him long, right? It has to be school related. Faculty, students, maybe neighbors that heard things were soft. Maybe one of the neighbors that heard the vacuuming all the time. I don't know, to establish like a routine. I don't know. There's weird. But you have to keep in mind these are from the defense. Um, so I don't know who they would call over there to start with, and I don't know who they would be. It's interesting to know they're taking that step now and getting their witnesses ready for deposition, right? Because you have to move forward, and Anne has no clue if the judge is going to give her a continuance or not, so she has to act like there's not going to be a continuance.
Yeah, that's true.
She's got to keep moving, and she knows the odds are not in her favor of getting that continuance based on her motion, because
They
she
better
didn't.
not be. I'm ready for this trial to
Yeah,
start.
because she didn't cite just the Dateline. She also went into great detail again on her motions to strike the death penalty under the same reasons she cited in the original motion to strike the DP. I noticed it when I read it, and I went back and grabbed the original document. I was like, oh, holy hell, Anson took that opportunity to go there again. And I don't think the judge is going to do it. He didn't do it the first time. He's not going to do it this time. He'll find other remedies to take care of whatever happens as a result of that investigation with the Dateline stuff. Because if they prove that somebody leaked that, there will be repercussions and there will have to be a remedy. And that alone could get the death penalty off the table. Ask Lori Vallow about stuff like that in Idaho. And Taylor's well aware of it. She brings Lori's case up several times. That nice shiny case where the DP was removed in Idaho for prosecution sanctions. And Ann is, I knew she was going to do that, and she did. I don't blame her. Shit, that's a big deal. And the judge cited all the overwhelming publicity to the Lori Vallow case in Idaho as well. It's two things he cited. So Ann's banking that she can get that same type of thing done here. Now we know that Ann also has not one, but not two, but three death penalty cases at one time. And we see her talking about how overworked she is, and she appears to be tired a little bit, and she has all this stuff she's got. For somebody who continues to file discovery stuff, you sure complain about all the discovery you do have. So darn good and well these discovery motions you're filing are in pertaining to new stuff. You're doing new stuff with your testing, the state's following up on that. Guess what? Each of those new things require discovery. So it appears you're asking for discovery from 100 years ago. Getting everybody all riled up over, oh my God, we're up to 80 discoveries. And you know how many were in Chad and Lori's Idaho cases? A lot. Just as many as in Brian Koberger's. I looked on purpose one day because I was so curious. I was like, why is everybody flipping out over this? Right? It's like part of the process. So I went and looked to see if it's really that abnormal, and come to find out it wasn't. So I just learned to let that go. Apparently, there's a boxing coach. There is. That's the only person I've heard of being subpoenaed who apparently will say BK sucked at it. That's a rumor. I saw that on. Here's the thing about that young black economist. I saw that rumor. I saw the rumbling. I was scrolling and I saw that and I was like, too bad they don't know. Too bad they don't know. Now, will this person come out and say he sucked at it at that age? like uncoordinated and sucked at it, maybe. But I think he worked hard to get better at it. If you could look at some of the other things he was also doing, because he continued that kickboxing, right, Dolphin? Even when he was out of state and older, I think he was still into it. And
Yeah, he seemed like he was still active.
yeah, and I think there were people who knew about it. He had the Strava app where he was an avid runner. We know he was an avid hiker. So we don't know. And a rumor now, no receipts, but when before all the stuff was scrubbed on the internet, there was a video associated with an account of Brian Koberger's, and it was a him allegedly, and he can move pretty fast with a weapon in his hand. It's like a thing he practiced, right? I don't know, but if he sucked, he sucked. I don't think he was so uncoordinated he couldn't have done what he is accused of doing. He seemed to walk around just fine to me. I don't know what he's like though when he gets flustered and things start happening fast. He could get all clumsy all of a sudden. So who knows? Who knows, right? I mean, we do have a hearing coming up on the 18th, and the hearing will be in two parts. And one is to discuss the alternate perpetrators, and the second part is the continuance motions. So I don't know if Anne's going to file anything new to come down before the hearing. I think she's got something due coming up. Um, on the continuance, and that's when he decided to have a hearing. It'd be interesting to. I really want to hear her argument on that because it is a big deal for that leak, right? In all reality, it really is. There are things that Dateline presented that we really shouldn't know yet. Um, does it sway jurors, potential jurors? I don't know. I don't know how many watch Dateline. I don't know how many will be honest when they're questioned by the panel. So, setting all that aside, there was stuff we shouldn't know, and someone's going to be in trouble because of the gag order. It is what it is. Um, so it'd be interesting to hear Anne's argument on why she needs a continuance because of that leak, right? Um, to do what? To come up with a sanctions you want to apply. You know what I mean? I don't know. And there's not the investigation's not over yet that we know of because nothing is, or we don't. I don't even know if we'll know. What do you think, Dolphin? Do you think we'll know if they wrap up the investigation into what happened with that leak? Because they're investigating it.
Yeah, I mean, since he made such a big deal about it in court, to mention it in court, I think that they'll probably, say something. They'll have to mention it and address it when he comes down with his ruling for the
Yeah,
continuance or not.
that's
So,
true.
yeah.
Because he's pretty good about citing all his reasons, and in good detail. And
Hmm.
that's true. So we should. And I wonder, what kind of trouble the person would get into that actually did that. What is the what is the punishment for breaking a gag order like that, right? What I don't know if it's just a contempt of court thing or if it could go deeper with jail time or that sort of thing. I
According
don't
to
know.
Philip Dubé on, what was it? I think News Nation on
Uh-huh.
Banfield. Yeah. Oh, actually, was he on? I don't remember. Yeah, he said it's a misdemeanor. He said, what
Yeah,
they're doing this big investigation for something that amounts to maybe like 5 days, or whatever.
right. And 'cause see, I'd heard the
I
same
think I linked
along
that
the same
somewhere in the
lines.
Discord.
Yeah, because I've heard this the same type of thing. It's like a contempt of court charge almost, and those are never like so severe. It's like a fine usually, and maybe a few days. Like Dolphin's talking about there. I don't think it's going to be like, oh, they're going to go to prison and do some serious time over this. Um, that they'll get admonished. You can believe that. We just saw the judge in Lori Vallow's case. I mean, go hard after her. Um, I call it a helper council, but that's not her technical name. Advisory council is Lori's people. But they didn't get to court on time the other day because she claimed she was at the office printing off pictures that Lori needed for trial. The judge did not like that shit. He's like, no, if this was federal court, I could haul her off to jail, right? He was not happy about that situation at all. So then later she got mad at Lori and threw Lori under the bus. She's like, "Oh no, Heifer, give me that." Like Lori went to go present something, and that lady literally walked up and said, "Give me that," and took it from Lori and gave it to the prosecutor. Joe and I were tripping. We were like, "What in the world are we watching here?" Court can get crazy sometimes. Do you think it'll get a little aggressive at times? Who's going to test the waters with Judge Hippler, right? Will Ann do that? Because a good defense attorney's got to tell a good story. They got to be a really good storyteller. And will she learn this judge? Is she trying to feel this judge out to know how to handle him in trial without?
I don't think she has what it takes,
Uh
you know?
oh, uh oh. True. Well, yeah. Does she know? Because she felt like she could push her boundaries and with the other judge, right?
Yeah, she was pushing him with Judge, definitely, but Anne doesn't seem confident in front of Hippler
No,
at
she
all.
doesn't. She
Like, in none
does.
of her appearances does she seem confident.
She's not as confident as she was in front of Judge.
Mm-hmm.
She's lost that edge just a little bit, it feels like. And I wish that she hadn't, because I feel like if you bring him a really good argument and you base it on law, you're going to get it, right? But excuse me, she's not getting away with non-specific filings like she was doing over it with the other judge. He's making her bring it a little harder, right? And I felt like Judge was trying to get her to bring me the law and I'll give you what you want. Over here, it's like he's like, really? This barely will make it into court. You need to ask it again, ma'am. Ask it differently, ma'am. Basically, he pulled a canoni on her and says, ask it differently, and then you might get it. But right now, this is almost inadmissible. And I was like, dang, this judge is kind of hardcore. So I don't know. Were you able to find that article or anything about that? We, you know what we're going to do since we're almost, guys, we're about, it appears we're going to be wrapping up Karen Reed probably this week if all goes as planned and Canoni doesn't have a cow and all that stuff. And Vallow will probably wrap up this week. I hope they both do. I'll be honest because I've been nothing but Lori Vallow and Karen Reed for as long, 3 months it feels like. I need a break before Coburger. So, but we're going to start taking a deeper dive into some of those documents. There was a whole bunch of motions and lemony that came out, and we read through all of them here. Some of them were extremely long, but there were a lot of things within those documents, a lot of information that I want to deep dive a little deeper. And Dolphin knows a lot of the facts. You guys know that. If you've been around, you see us talking about this case. So we're going to start doing that. Getting prepped for trial, where we started, where we got, and all the rumors aside, just based out what these court documents tell us, because we are approaching trial and we do plan to cover the entire trial. Um, and it's going to be a long one, right? So I feel like we can do some good shows to look at the evidence, right? What each side has presented so far and have some discussions about it. I think we need to do that. Now Dolphin's vacation's done and she's back and these trials are wrapping up. We had planned to start doing that. So we hope you guys are into that, like the deep dives of the documents and the stuff that we do know about the case, what we don't know about the case. You know, there's a lot of information out there about this case. There's a lot of articles about this case. There's a lot of bad information, misinformation, disinformation, you know what I mean? And I really want to try to keep it to whatever's in the documents because I don't know if Brian Koberger's the guy. I feel like they have a lot of probable cause. I felt like they had enough probable cause to arrest him, but how strong is it? How well will it stick? I'm not a fool. I know all you really have is the DNA on the sheath. You got grainy car footage, although that leaked Linda Lane or that leaked footage from King and Queen Road looks pretty damaging. It looks a lot like an Elantra. Can't deny it, but that, you know, you know what I'm saying. Where's the proof that it is? I get it. Um, We got cell phone data, and here's the thing about the cell phone data in the Brian Koberger case. We see the fiasco in the Reed case, right, with the cell phone data. And I'm sorry, I got sidetracked by a comment. Oh, something about when I said phone data, I noticed somebody had said something. But the phone data over there, okay, so we see a mess that it's created over in the Karen Reed case. And then we hear Lori Vallow's case in Arizona. We have Nick Balance coming to testify. Nick Balance worked the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell cases in Arizona. I'm sorry, in Idaho. It always comes down to your experts, you know, who do you believe, who do you trust, all the things. I got Nick Balance going up against Cyree. My money's on Nick Balance. Um, I get it, he's FBI cast, but my money is still on Nick Balance. Very well spoken, very educated, very, very good at describing what he does, right, and how it works. Cyree come across as a little, he even said during they had a pre-trial like hearing a long time ago with him. And he said then, well, I reserve the right to change my mind later as, I receive more information. And we're like, what? What does that mean? What's that mean, Cyree? You reserve the right to change your mind about what? That Koberger was off in Never Never Land stargazing? Okay. So it's going to it'll be interesting, right? So we're going to take us some deep dives into the documents, see where this car was at during these given times and these camera locations. We went through a lot of that um, as they were happening. We deep dove the one there where he got pulled over at Farm Road, and there all the shopping center, the big shopping center there, and all the stores that were there, all the warrants that were served on those stores, all the camera pulls done. There's just a lot of information in there that we need to take a look at. Oh, hey, Jeff. Jeff says his money is on Nick Balance, too. Rachel says Balance has done his job for a long time. He's very good at it. Yeah. Pammy, I get cross eyed on the document, so glad y'all do it for us. Well, we do too. Sometimes it takes us a long time to move through a document because I will stop and talk.
Did you see the link I sent you
Where did you send it to me, ma'am? Discord?
in Discord? Yep.
Let me take a look real quick.
And I don't remember. Did you go through all the people who've been subpoenaed?
Well, I didn't go through all
Because I
16 out
thought you
of
said
Whit.
20 or something like that.
Well, it's the 16 in Whitman County. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
click on each
Oh, okay.
individual six because that's the one that gives us the initials. But I
Mm-hmm.
have that. We can take a look at those initials,
No, no.
if we
That's
want.
okay.
Yeah, but because that's all it shows for each one of the cases. It just shows the same thing. So there are 16 out of Whitman County. Again, there's one out of Allen County. And if you guys look at the Google map, I could pull it up, but if you just a simple Google search, Adams County, Washington, it's literally right next to Pullman, right? So whoever that is, I guess, lives in Adams County now. And then, of course, there was Bethany out of Nevada, and then the five out of Pennsylvania. And we went through those documents, and they're going to have hearings again June 30th for the subpoenas in Pennsylvania. They'll have a hearing June 25th on the subpoenas in Washington. And then June 18th, we have a Koberger hearing to stream. So get everybody caught up. Now, let me go look at this. What did Dolphin send me? Okay. Does this one have? Let me take a look.
I think it's like 5 minutes or whatever. It did have something interesting in it, but I didn't get a chance to listen to the whole thing. So I was
Wait a
like,
minute.
oh, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. I was like, maybe it's mentioned in
Oh,
there.
it's News Nation, you said.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like a video for News Nation.
Banfield, yeah.
Let me do this. Let me see if I can. I'm going to try to.
Why don't you just copy the link and then put the
Yeah.
link in whatever you know.
Let
window
me
you have. That's okay.
hold on 1 second, guys.
About Brian Koberger.
Can
Not
you
stuff that
guys
we'd
hear
heard
it,
before,
see
not stuff
it,
we were
all the things?
expecting
Yeah.
either. I got
Hmm.
to be honest with you.
Cool.
It comes from his time when he was a Pennsylvania security guard in the Pennsylvania school system. One of his former coworkers is talking a little bit about what he was like back then. And let me tell you, hot temper, angry outbursts, to say the least. A lot more information on that in a second. And you're going to be surprised at what his hobby was. Gross. But I do want to tell you that there's a scheduled hearing. Kind of came up out of nowhere. We were waiting for June, but May 25th, we're going to be hearing about the gag order. There's an effort by Kaylee's family to get that gag order amended or lifted, and a lot of media companies are jumping in on it too. So we're hoping that that yields something. But let me tell you about this former coworker of Brian Koberger's. Woof. It turns out between 2016 and 2021, he was this security guard for the school district. The school district actually had to turn over records because they were subpoenaed. And it's weird here. This will matter to his lawyers. This is really going to matter to his lawyers if he is tried and convicted and there's a death penalty phase. In 2018, he was credited with helping save a life of a coworker. And that could be a mitigating factor in a death penalty phase. So keep that in the back of your mind, because you can just pull that out later. But my next guests actually heard from this former coworker who sort of spilled the beans on a lot of stuff about Brian Koberger, and you know them well because they're the administrators of a very popular webpage. Joining me now, Christine Cameron and Alina Smith, admins of the University of Idaho Murders Case Discussion Group on Facebook. It's one of the biggest true crime pages on Facebook right now, with 225,000 members and counting. Ladies, it's great to have you back on. Thank you so much for being here. Let me start with you, Christine,
Thanks for
with
having
what
us,
this
Ashley.
coworker. Well, I'm delighted. I love talking to you. What this former coworker laid out in detail about her time with Brian Koberger.
Sure. A member reached out to me privately through our Facebook group. This person said they worked with Koberger at Pleasant Valley School District pre-COVID. We know it's legitimate because they sent a selfie with him and documents from the district showing employment. He lied about an incident and got caught on cameras, which made him really mad. He swore he did not hit another person in the parking lot and went as far as to rub the dirt on the ground on this person's car in the parking lot to say that he didn't do this as a cover up. He was not apologetic to this person, and he just got really angry when other people believed the camera footage that they had in front of them. And that just goes to show his outburst and his temper. He was obsessed about his weight.
Obsessed about his weight. We'd heard that before. And he talked a lot about personality traits and disorders as well.
He did. His hobby was studying serial killers and what caused them to commit these murders. And this person said to us that, if someone was in the room getting any attention or was showing him up, he would go nuts. And this person gave a tip to the police. They said, just tell him that he is not the smartest person in the room, and he'll tell you how he did it.
That's fascinating. I'm particularly fascinated with that little nugget that this employee said, that Brian Koberger's hobby was studying serial killers and what caused them to commit murder. That is chilling.
It is.
Okay, Alina, we had a poll out on your page, and I threw it out on my social media as well. And I think a lot of people were jumping on there to get their opinions known. The first question: what are you most eager to learn at Koberger's trial? Talk about these results.
Well, it looks like the motive got 51%, which we figured that would be the number one choice on this one. The other ones were how were the murders done and what do the roommates know? We knew that everybody would want to know the motive. I mean, everyone wants to know, how did he know them? Why were they chosen? Was it just one person? Was it all four? What were the orders? So really the motive just kind of fell in there to cover all of those bases. So we knew that the motive would be the number one choice in that poll.
Okay, poll question number two, Alina, how did it shake out?
Number two was, what do you think will be
What do
the
you
biggest
think? Yeah.
hurdle? Okay, biggest hurdle for the prosecution to overcome if Koberger's case goes to trial. And same with this one, lack of the murder weapon. The other ones were no witness to stabbings and internal affairs probe, which Christine, she had some strong feelings on these answers. So do you want to take that one over?
Yeah, personally, I think the biggest hurdle will be DNA. Koberger can say he was in and out of the house for any number of reasons. The hurdle will be linking his DNA to that day and that time period, in my opinion.
That was those Facebook group ladies, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ooh, I don't
I
mess with the
didn't.
Facebook group ladies. I'm teasing.
Yeah.
I had
I
to do that.
just wanted you to hear it because of the
Yeah.
story about him getting
Oh, I
caught
know.
lying or
Yes.
whatever and
Hmm.
being caught on camera because I don't remember that story.
I
And
was
this is
like,
from 2 years ago.
I was thinking the same thing, Dolphin, as that was playing. I'm thinking, I've heard so much. I don't
Mm-hmm.
recall hearing this, right? And I'm like, hmm. But, there was a minute there where Ashley Banfield was just going boom, boom, boom with Koberger stuff, and people felt some kind of way about anything she put out. But a lot of it has been accurate if you look back on it, right? People were so,
Mm-hmm.
like, big mad. Um, People who didn't like people talking about Brian Koberger, I guess, I'll put it that way, were big mad about her. And I'm like, I don't get it. She's reporting what she's reporting, just like you're reporting what you're reporting. So it's all good. Everybody calm down. But it's quite crazy. Joe had said in a comment that I get to see Nick Balance in person this week in the Lori Vallow case. Yes, because he is on the state's witness list and has a judge's order to keep his face from being broadcast. That is true. He also was not broadcast in Chad and, well, Lori's wasn't broadcast at all, but Chad's trial was. And the other witnesses, you could see them, but you did not see Nick Balance. But what they did do, which was crazy, was put out a sketch. East Idaho News and Court TV, a lot of them use the thumbnail, and it's a full-on sketch of Nick Balance on the witness stand, and I was kind of floored by that. It's been out there for a long time, but yeah, he won't be broadcast. So that tells me he won't be broadcast in Idaho either. They don't intend to broadcast Bethany and Dylan when they testify, just their audio, and it's going to be the same thing with Nick Balance because he is the FBI cast agent in that region of Idaho, which is part of Rexburg and Moscow, all of that. That's his territory. That's why he's involved in the cases, right? And he did, if y'all don't know the work he did in the Chad Daybell case and in Lori's case and what he testified to in Chad Daybell's case, wow. Wow. He's Nick Balance is probably the reason they located Lori Vallow's kids in the backyard of Chad Daybell because of the work he did with Alex Cox's cell phone. How he tracked that phone, how he knows that phone's movements, and he knows everything. He almost placed that damn phone within feet of the fire pit where Tylee was harmed. I'm going to be real respectful of Tylee right now when I say that. I think y'all can use your imaginations if you don't know. Those of you who know, you know. So I'm really impressed with the work that Nick Valance is able to do. And as far as drive time, he explains it beautifully. He can even tell you how to calibrate the machine he uses to do his drive time test with, that Ann Taylor's absolutely going to try to attack. She went there in one of the hearings, right? About calibration. I was like, "Oh, you go there, Ann. You go ahead, girl. He's got a real good answer for you. I already know." So that's interesting. And I compare that to Ray's testimonies that we've seen so far, and I'm not super impressed. And then recently, if you guys don't know, Drunk Turkey interviewed Andrew Garrett from Garrett Discovery. Prior to that, Forensic Frenzy had also done an interview with him, or two, Dolphin, by that time. I think she had done two. Drunk Turkey did one, made three.
Mm-hmm.
And then recently, has she done her other one yet, or she has an
Yeah.
upcoming? Okay. So he talks interesting stuff about cell phones, right? And so I like to listen to him, but I also keep in mind that he is also what I'm calling now, since Karen Reed, he's a data dude, right? He has his own company, his own software, but he's got some really good software. And his Shadow Dragon is, and how he obtained that is a pretty darn good story. And the things that he said, I'll say it, he kind of, I think he's surprised Drunk Turkey with how inaccurate some of that cell phone could be data, right? Talking about that aspect of it. So it's going to be interesting to see. And he doesn't have a lot of faith in Ray's software. I was watching that recently. I think that was on the Drunk Turkey. They were talking about that because he said that what Ray's software was able to do was really simplify a way to look at something, but in the process, it lost a lot of really important data. And I was like, "Oh, what do you mean by that?" Right? And he didn't really elaborate beyond that because he wasn't trying to Ray bash, because he doesn't give the prosecution any credit either. He doesn't give the FBI much credit either. So that's why I got to keep in mind, who he is. But his knowledge, I I would believe that guy on a witness stand, right? And he absolutely testifies. His company does this as well. In fact, he says the defense reached out to him, but when they reached out to him, he was busy. They had a lot going on and they weren't going to be able to work on the case to the extent the defense needed. And he said, just for like basically shits and giggles, he ran Koberger quickly, and they used the Snapdragon Shadow Dragon software, and that's where he pulled the information about the alleged Instagram account connections. And yeah, and then about 8 months later, someone urged him to share that information with the families, so he did. I was like, "Whoa, this is a lot of information, but I'm here with my popcorn. Tell me more," right? I couldn't help myself at that point. So I'm fascinated by this guy, this Garrett Discovery guy. If you're out there watching, we'd love to have you on because you're a great conversationalist about cell phones. But yeah, one of my mods dropped Drunk Turkey in here and Forensic Frenzy, and you guys go over and check their channels out and take a look at those interviews. They're really interesting if you want to know more about cell phones and how things might work and what he's got to say about Ray and the FBI. And you can form your own opinions, right? That's what I want y'all to do. And he gives a good outside looking in, to me anyway. He does. So, um, welcome in, everyone who's just joined recently. Firefly, good to see you. As always, Stevie B, you say the IAAA, which is the Authority on Cell Networks, and made up of engineers and scientists in radio waves, and they specifically call out Ray as junk science. Yeah, and he has had his stuff kept out of court. It wasn't Colorado case or two that it was kept out of court.
Yeah, I don't remember
Now
what state, but
he recently testified for the prosecution in the Monica Santillo. Is that how you say her name? Is that who it is? Miss Shorty shared that with me, and I was like, "Whoa, is that That's Ray?" She's like, "Yes, girl, look." I was like, "Oh heck!" And it's like testifying for the prosecution. I was kind of like, but it was
That name
standard.
sounds familiar. Centinelo.
It
What
was a
was the
recent.
case?
It was a recent trial. I don't even know what murder. I guess I
Yeah,
don't
the name
know.
sounds really
Yeah,
familiar.
it was a recent case a couple months back, and Miss Shorty linked me, and yeah, I took a look at it, and I was like, oh heck, there he was testifying in that case. So there's information on him out there as well, and he does testify and things like that. But yes, you are right, Stevie. There's also a lot of naysayers out there. I guess we'll be nice today to Cy Ray. Go check out his podcast with his wife. Occasionally, they're funny. Occasionally. I'll say it like that. And someone who was that? Someone gifted out memberships. I think I saw. Uh,
Oh, yeah, that was
hey,
Forrest.
awesome, Forrest. Thank you so much. 857 Tucson, my buddy. Welcome in. Welcome in. Party of five. Good to see you again. Donna Norris. Welcome in. Dave's channel. Welcome in, Dave's channel. Good to see everyone. Um, Ann Taylor. We got Ann Taylor in the house, everybody. Yay. Simi Sharp, my girl. Seahawk. Seahawks fan. Okay, welcome in. Reese, welcome in. In the garden. I like to be in the garden. Melissa Hart and Forrest, thank you again. You are amazing. We appreciate it. You guys, welcome to Lead Investigators. We are going to be trying to get together some more members only content soon. We got a little preoccupied with these trials we've been streaming, but like I said, they're about to wrap up this week, maybe. Maybe. And then we can get on to some other things. If you guys have been following the Crystal Rogers case, I still want to talk about that because we're about to come up on Brooks Houck's murder trial for her, and we still haven't found her. Crystal's never been found. And there were 3 people charged, and one just went down for, was it conspiracy? One of the Lawsons, there was a father and a son, Steve, and oh, I always forget the other one's darn name. Um, anyway, we already had one trial and he was found guilty, and now the other 2, their trials are combined. They were all 3 together at one point. Now they're severed. There's been a lot of crazy moving parts in that trial. It's been going on. The case has went on for years. Finally, the arrest was made of Crystal's boyfriend. At the time was Brooks. Brooks' brother was a local cop. He has been fired because of his part in trying to cover up in the investigation of his brother. And then his family was also caught trying to record their grand jury testimony so they could go home and compare later, their stories and make sure they had everything straight. All this, multiple searches by the FBI of the Houck property throughout Kentucky looking for Crystal, and as far as we know, nothing, right? And so, but there is finally something happening in the case. But a year into Crystal's investigation, her father had did a ton of work. I mean, a ton of work. And he had like this entire file box, a box full of investigation material. And Tommy knew a lot. And I feel like a lot of that just came out in the trial that we just had. It told me a lot of the things I think Tommy knew. People knew Tommy knew something. Tommy was shot and killed in front of his grandson in the early morning hours on his private property when they went to go hunting. Somebody laid in wait. They found the evidence and everything of where this person hid behind a tree and took a shot at Tommy Ballard and killed him. Nobody's been charged in Tommy's case yet. It's crazy that the man trying to investigate what happened to his daughter is shot a year later, and everybody in town knew he was, looking into it hard and heavy and was not going to give up and had a lot of information. Who did that to Tommy Ballard, right? And so that leaves Sherry, his wife, and the mother of Crystal. She's been through it. And the reason this case I don't think is as high profile now as it once was, because Kentucky has a way of keeping things in the dark, kind of like Indiana. There's a lot of corruption in Kentucky. There's the corruption in Crystal's case is like the prominent family in town, right? And the brother cop, and who all was in their personal pockets, like these father and son guy that would do anything for money, like go move Crystal's car, I'll give you money, this sort of thing. Um, that's what's going on here, and how and people that would lie for the family, that kind of thing. It's crazy how it corruption can work in a lot of different ways. It can look a lot of different ways, I guess. And there's no cameras in the courtroom, so we can't see the trial. So you have to get updates from like the local media. And fortunately, in Kentucky, there is a really good local station that really reports on Crystal's case the right way. And they did a lot of investigating it themselves, and they have a lot of information on their YouTube channel, and that's where I was getting my updates from. So I'd love to get that case, give it a little attention and justice for Crystal kind of thing, because it's a really intriguing case. Um, Flip Flop says, I remember when Crystal's case came about years and years ago. Yeah, it was such a sad case. It really is. She has 5 kids. Those kids are grown now, right? Flip Flops, I mean, those little kids have grown up. Her daughter is like beautiful and reminds me of Crystal. When I saw her, I was like, damn, and her little boy now is so much older. So it's been a long road for some of these families. It takes years and years to get somebody arrested, and then you finally get to trial and blah 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 blah.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's heartbreaking for a lot of them. And guys, by the way, before I forget that, God, Lord, forgive me, Kaylee, forgive me. I meant to start this show out with happy birthday, Kaylee Jade, because today is Kaylee Gonzalez's birthday. And if you go over, well, on the page this morning, I posted, happy birthday to her. It's Kaylee Jade Day, where you celebrate and you go out. And I think that they were having an event today. They did it for Maddie's birthday as well. They had like a birthday party.
That's nice.
Yeah, her mom was there, and Kaylee's mom was there. It's on the Facebook page. And I think they're having a thing today somewhere there in town for the Kaylee Jade Day celebration. Um, and I think she would be 24, just like Maddie would have, because Maddie just had a birthday in May, and today is Kaylee's birthday, and then next month is Xana's birthday. And then Ethan comes along, that little winter baby. That's what I call them, because I have one of those as well. Down there at the end is what I call it. He's our little Scorpio. That's what I call him. His birthday is later, in end of October. So you guys take a moment, yeah. Wish Kaylee a happy birthday. Can you imagine what I mean? You just take a moment and put yourself in their parents' shoes when these dates come up. That's when things probably hit them the most at different times. It may be at 2 a.m., the way Stacy describes. It might be at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, sitting on the back porch having your coffee, and boom, out of nowhere, there it is. You know? So we got to give them grace and give them a moment, right? Happy birthday, Kaylee. You know what, guys? We have to remember, if we believe, she's happy, right? Kaylee's happy, and she just wants her family to be just as happy. So hopefully there'll be closure eventually. Maybe the judge, will not grant this continuance, and they'll get on with the trial, because it's been a minute. Damn it,
Yeah.
Dolphin's got a timer going for us, guys. Dolphin,
Sure
what do
do.
we got? What do we got here on the timer?
Let me swipe over to my screen. 2 months, 2 days, 19 hours, 58 minutes.
Wow. It's yeah. We remember back in the day when we were supposed to get that preliminary hearing, and it was canceled. Instead, they popped off with the grand jury, and we were all like, "What?" We were all look. It was like in June. It was supposed to be held in June that year. Like that year, it's like 3 years ago. But we were supposed to have that preliminary hearing in the beginning, and instead they canceled it and went with the grand jury instead. So we never had that happen in this case. last minute. Nobody knows why they did that. But then we, of course, saw movement where the defense tried to throw out the grand jury indictment early on, and that was denied as well. So we may go back like to the beginning and just walk through some of these. There's so many damn documents in this case. If you go through all the warrants and you go through all of the motions, there's a lot, but we'll hone in on some of the really good specific stuff, and we need to go back and take a revisit some of these search warrants again and just stuff like that and call it we'll trial prep, you know what I mean? Kind of like Joe's been doing for Lori before pre-trial before Lori. So our pre-trial prep. So we'll get some shows together for you guys and get that going. There'll be some during the week shows. There'll be some weekend stuff as well. So we'll look forward to that. I'm not going to keep you guys all day today. I'm going to go outside and enjoy the weather and the birds, touch the grass and all the things because I got to stream all week long or however long this trial lasts because I will be covering the rest of Karen Reed like we've been doing. We're invested, so we're doing that. If we have time in the afternoons, if something happens and we get through with Karen early, you know how they roll over there in Canton, you never know, then we'll get a little caught up on Lori. But otherwise, someone dropped Joe's link in the channel. Joe's our boots on the ground over there. He's in the courtroom every day. He's going to be reporting live on his channel at night, giving a good recap on Lori and the take on the jury. He's like paying attention to the jury. Um, and I like that because I always like to know. I don't want to know who the jurors are. I just want to know what they're doing. Are they thinking? Are they taking notes? Things like that. How are they reacting to certain things? I'd like to know that in all the cases we're covering. I wish we had like one boots on the ground reporter that just reported on that, right? How did the jury react to that? What were they doing? Real Happy says, when is Reed going to be over? Well, I don't know. Karen Reed said Tuesday, which would be Tuesday the 10th this week. But, give them till Wednesday, give them some, who knows. But so that would tell us, if that's true, they don't have a lot of people left that they're going to call as witnesses. And they're doing the ARCA Dr. Wolf right now, and I'm assuming they're going to call Dr. Richler because Wolf has spoke of him several times now. And so I'm assuming he's coming up next. And then after that, I don't know. Are we looking at closing arguments after that? Does the defense believe that they've cast enough reasonable doubt on a vehicle hitting this man at all? And that's all they need to do, right? Because they don't have to prove a case. They don't have to prove something happened in that house, although they planted that seed. They went hard on that seed in opening arguments. You know what I mean? We're going to show you he went into that house and da 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 da. I was like, oh, did we show that yet? Oh, we got to the door. I know we got to the door of that house. What happened after that? With this low accuracy, high accuracy, low accuracy, high accuracy phone movement bullshit you had going on for 5 minutes. Ugh, I can't. I'm not feeling it. There's Joe's channel in the chat, guys. Go over there and take a look at that. And we will be back in the morning. I'm assuming they are going at normal time, so I'll be live about 7:45 in the morning, getting ready to cover. I don't even know. Are we on day 29 of Karen Reed? Possibly
I
something like that.
lost track. It seems
I,
like a few days ago I saw 28 on your
yeah,
description.
that's
So
what I'm thinking too, Dolphin. I'm like, we on day 29, I think. Yeah, I
maybe
think we
30.
are. Yeah, I think we're 29. So we'll see. When I set it up, I'll take a look at my playlist and see what day we're on now, and my notes as well, to make sure they match. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah, 29.
29. Yeah, day 29 of Karen Reed. So yeah, almost a month there. And just think they're calling for 3 months of this in the Brian Koberger case. Wow. We'll have to do weekend recap shows if we're going to cover the trial because there's going to be so much to cover after the end of each day. I don't know. May have to come back at night and do a little recap of the day kind of thing just to make sure we're all like, did you get that? Did you hear that? Compare our notes. So All right, guys. Well, I'm going to let everyone go. Dolphin, thank you for joining me as usual.
You're welcome.
Talking about this. And guys, like I said, we just got all these subpoenas came out of nowhere. Well, I guess it would be expected if their defense is going to call people. So there was out of state subpoenas, is what it was. So unlike Lori Vallow, Ann Taylor does know what she's doing when it comes to needing to serve her subpoenas in a timely fashion in the right legal manner. Oh, Lori. She didn't read the right law book and she's not graduated law school yet. And yes, I'm making fun of her because she's so ignorant. All right, so yeah, we just to recap what we came on here to talk about today, guys. Thanks for joining us once again, and please hit the like button. We have so they'd served 16 warrants, not warrants. My God, what am I saying? Subpoenas in Whitman County in Pennsylvania. I mean, shit, Washington County, Whitman County, Washington, 16 subpoenas. One in Adams County, Washington. And then Bethany was served in Nevada. And then we had the 5 served in Pennsylvania that knew Brian. It looks like through the teenage years, the high school years, people who knew that,
Hmm.
yeah, throughout the high school years. And I think those years are going to be important. A lot was going on during those years, right, Dolphin? There was a lot going
Yep.
on during those years, and
Yeah.
we need to do a show on those particular years, because we got the Tapa talks from that time frame because there was more than one, and I saw somebody evaluate one of the Tapa talks, and I was like, yeah, but there's more. So I think that's a good because there's a lot we noticed about stuff we reviewed about his what was happening during that time frame, based on what we read in articles, like through teachers and things like that, before there was like all this stuff going on. So it just like things were happening a lot in that guy's life during those years. So I think it's worth taking a look at as well. So we'll maybe do a members only and take a look at that. That sounds interesting. Maybe we can get Dolphin to join us for that, and we can put together something good for you guys. Um, Maybe like do a little breakdown of his psyche during that time, if we can. All right,
Yeah.
if we can. Um, I tried to travel into that mine one time just to get a feel for it, and I was like, "Oh, that's really no, I'm not feeling it." Those vibes just wasn't feeling it. Um, Flip Flop says, "Thank you, Salty. Happy to be. Thank you for coming in. Those of you who normally come in who haven't been coming in because of the Karen Read, we get it, and I love you all. Go do you, right? We all do what we need to do. But thank you all for coming in. I do appreciate it. Um, so we just wanted to come over and take a look because I knew these things have been out for a couple days. I Oh, hi, Leslie and Billy. Welcome in. It's been a minute since we've seen you. Thank you for joining us. Um, yeah, so I just wanted to come on with Dolphin and talk to you guys for a few minutes about and review these subpoenas, and take a look at who actually ordered them and or issued them and served them. And yeah, it all come from the defense side. So it'll be interesting to see what these people will have to say once trial kicks off, right? And we know at least one of them has to serve 2 days. Maybe there'll be more documents that become attached to those soon. Um, I don't know how many more documents we'll have come down between now and the hearing on the 18th, but we'll be live with that hearing when it happens. So we'll definitely be taking a look
Oh
at that.
yeah. That one's like I think on a Wednesday. Is
Is it
it?
on a Wednesday, the 18th?
Yep.
That's my
Two
pawpaw's
Wednesdays from
birthday.
now.
Yep, that was my grandpa's birthday on the 18th. So that's cool. That's maybe like good luck. That's like good vibes. My pawpaw's gonna have good vibes for that hearing. He'll be sitting there laughing. I don't know who he would laugh at though. It depends on which one sounded the silliest. I'm talking about attorneys. He would probably laugh at one of those. Anyway. All right, guys. If you don't know, that's where I get my cussing from. Is my pawpaw. So happy birthday coming up, pawpaw. We're gonna cuss all day on that day during that hearing, just to honor him. All right, everybody. If you don't mind, hit the like button on your way out, and we'll see you in the morning for day 29 of Karen Read, and see what else this ARCA team has to offer for us. I'm looking forward to it because, like you guys know, I didn't watch first trial, so I'm looking forward to see what else they have to say. All right, everybody. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you in the morning.
Thank you
Bye.
all for watching this here video. Please like and subscribe.